morning. Kalimera. I want to welcome our visitors today. If you're new to our parish, on the back page of the bulletin, or the inside of the back page, there's some instructions on the bottom to text the word welcome to a number on there, and that will connect you to our community. I'll also introduce our greeters at the very end, and you'll want to connect with them also, but the easiest way to do it is just, we're in the 21st century now, is to get into press the welcome to the text, and that will get you connected to us. Several announcements to make this morning. When we're done in the church, there's a blood drive that's happening today. There should be a big red bus out in the front parking lot. It takes 15 minutes to donate blood, and we're collecting donations for that. We're having, right after, also Divine Liturgy today in the Zaharias room, which is right inside the hall. Make a left, the first door. We're going to have a meeting with our young adults, anyone in the young adult demographic. This is not to have a seminar or anything, but just to, we had a retreat a couple weeks ago. We had a good number of people come to it. And I want to see going forward, what is the interest of this group? What kinds of things do you want to have? So that'll be in the Zaharias room. Just get a cup of coffee. As soon as I get my vestments off, I'll come in there and do that right away. We're going to have Divine Liturgy on Tuesday for the Feast of St. Luke. He is one of the 4 evangelists. Next Sunday, we're going to have a parish assembly meeting. The purpose of the parish assembly is primarily to approve the budget for next year. Again, we need a quorum of people to make that go. Next Monday, a week from tomorrow, we're having the Liturgy of St. James. You can read about that in the bulletin and the messenger. It's the most ancient of all the liturgies in the Christian world. There is no Bible study on Wednesday morning. We're only having one Bible study this week, which is going to be on Monday evening with Father John. The Wednesday one is canceled this week. I'm going to be out of town for most of the week. And finally, in the windows, you see some small candles burning. I mentioned last week, I know that there's an interest in having votive candles, the longer burning votive candles. So we're going to have these candles. They're 3-day candles. We invite you, if you purchase one of them, to take them home with you. And having them burning in the windows, as I explained last week, is actually more historically accurate than having them burn up in the front. Years ago, before they had electricity in the churches, people would light a candle and place it near their patron saint. So we invite people to place candles in the windows, the stained glass windows, near your patron saint, or which saint you identify with. And so that's how we're going to take care of that going forward. Before I begin the sermon, I'm going to ask a trivia question. And I just want to see by show of hands how many people know the answer. You don't have to scream it out. Just tell me by show of hands if you know why the icon of the crucifixion is being displayed today. Does anyone know why the icon of the crucifixion is being displayed today in the middle of October? One person knows. Anybody else know why that is? Today is actually the feast of St. Longinus, and St. Longinus was the centurion at the foot of the cross of Christ. So you see up here in the larger icon, or you can see up there in the smaller icon, there's several people at the cross of Christ. The young man that's closest to the cross, that's St. John the theologian. He is the one disciple who remained at the foot of the cross. He is the one that Jesus entrusted his mother to. He looked at John, he said, "Behold your mother," and he looked at his mother and said, "Behold your son." And so there's another man over there and who is holding a shield, dressed as a soldier. That is the centurion who presided over the crucifixion of Christ. And he has a halo because he wasn't very saintly that day. But after the crucifixion, he said, truly this was the Son of God. And he actually became a dedicated Christian. And he was martyred for his Christianity. And so today is his feast day. He's actually one of my favorite saints because he shows, like, no matter what bad thing you've done, no one is cut off from God. And what worse thing could you do than preside over the execution of the Son of God? I mean, that's a pretty big sin. And so if he can become a saint, then there's kind of hope for everybody. So that's why the icon of the crucifixion is out today, not because of Christ on the cross, but because of Longinus on the side of the icon. You can see it on the big one and in the small one. He's got a halo just like all the other saints. It's not how you start, it's how you finish that God is concerned about. So we've got 3 weeks until our festival, and the last 6 weeks leading up to the festival, I have been going over the core values of our church. So I started off 3 weeks ago with our word of the year, which is stewards. And then we went over the first two core values of our church, which is love. That was 2 weeks ago. Last week was worship. Today is community. And the other two are learning and service. And I hope that we are going to commit these words to our memories: love, worship, community, learning, service, because these are the things that our particular parish stands for. When we make decisions as a parish, like we are at the parish assembly meeting next week, we hold these core values and we kind of make our decisions according to those. If they don't fit with those, then we don't do them. So today we're going to talk about community. And it's when I chose the order of the week to do these things, it's amazing that the scriptures line up exactly with the value that we're talking about, both the epistle and the gospel lesson today. The epistle lesson from St. Paul's letter to Titus tells us something really important that we don't do in the community, which is have stupid controversies. He says avoid stupid controversies. He actually uses the word stupid, which you don't think is a scriptural word, but it is in this epistle. And it says, apply ourselves to good deeds. These are excellent and profitable. Avoid stupid controversies, genealogies, dissensions, and quarrels over the law, because they are unprofitable and futile. So whatever community you're living in, whether it's a workplace, a home place, a church place, avoid stupid controversies. They don't really lead anywhere. Now, leaving that and going to something more positive, the gospel lesson today is the parable of the sower. And in this parable, Jesus talks about a sower that went out to sow seed. And you can get a visual image of this. Actually, we have a hard time doing that. Jesus spoke in his day because most of the people were farmers. So they got this image of a guy carrying a big bag of seed. Imagine you go to your favorite home improvement store and you buy a big bag of some kind of seed. And you go for a walk and you throw some of the seed on the street. Nothing's going to happen to that. It's just going to blow away. There's no dirt there. And some he threw on the path, so there's some dirt there, but it's the kind of dirt that gets packed down by people walking on it. And some threw among the thorns, and the thorns choked the seed, and he threw some seed into fertile soil, and it grew to be 100-fold. And the disciples asked him, what's the meaning of this parable? We don't understand what you're doing. And Jesus says, to you it's given to know the secrets of the kingdom of heaven, but to others they are parables. So seeing they don't see, and hearing they don't understand. And in Greek, the secrets of the kingdom of heaven are ta mysteria to theou, the mysteries of God. And where do we hear the word mysteries in our church? In the holy sacraments. So the mystery of Holy Communion, which we just celebrated, to the untrained eye, this thing we just did, the Divine Liturgy, is just a play. Men in robes swinging something metal that smokes, with choirs singing in the background, people milling around. That's what it is to those who don't know anything. But to those who understand what we're doing, this is the kingdom of God opening right here in October 2022 in the middle of Tampa, Florida. And we, the ordinary human beings, touch something extraordinary. We touch Holy Communion. It's not just the priest invites us to come up here and have a snack in the middle of the morning. We actually touch God. And to some, it's in a parable. So they see, but they don't see. But to those who are working at this, they see what's going on and they understand what's going on. So Jesus explains the parable. The seed is the word of God. And those who are hearing the seed are different kinds. Some are like the path. They hear the word of God and it goes nowhere because there's no dirt. Again, if you throw some seed out into the asphalt behind the church, nothing's going to happen to that. It's just going to sit there until it gets blown away by the wind or the blower. And some seed again fell on the path and it was trod underfoot. These are the people that get the seed and almost immediately it gets trampled down by the devil. And then there's some seed that falls into the thorns, and it grows and it looks good for a little while. But then the thorns creep up and they choke the seed, so it can't grow to maturity. And then some seed falls into the dirt that's fertile dirt, and it yields 100-fold. Now, the lessons of this parable are many. First of all, the seed is the word of God, and it falls into our hearts. And if our hearts are hard like concrete, the seed doesn't go anywhere. The seed needs to be soft, needs to be cultivated. The job of the church is to throw the seed and to encourage us to cultivate the soil, but it doesn't cultivate it for us. It throws the seed again and again and again. When the sower was throwing the seed, one really interesting thing about that is that he knew when he threw the seed on the path that nothing was going to happen, but he threw it anyway. He threw the seed everywhere without discrimination. He threw it everywhere. So God throws the seed to every single person here. If your heart is hard like concrete or it's soft like the fertile soil, it doesn't matter to God. He throws the seed equally to everybody. Another thing about this parable is that it applies to many of us in our workplaces. Many of us don't understand our jobs. Years ago, when I was a priest for 3-4 years, and I sat with my spiritual father one day and I said, Father, I'm getting discouraged because I keep giving sermons and I don't have hundreds of people running up and saying, I get it, Father, I want to be saved. And he said, that, Father Stavros, the day that you want to see that, just quit, because you're going to have a long and miserable life. He opened up the parable of the sower and he said, your job is to throw the seed. Again, the image of the man with a big bag of seed. He said, go throw the seed, and at night, put the bag down, sleep, pick up the bag the next day, throw more seed. He goes, but here's the deal. You're on a one-way street. You never get to come back that way, and you never get to look over your shoulder even to see how the seed grew. So if you're obsessed with seeing the seed grow, you're going to have a long, miserable career ahead of you. Now, sometimes I'm still obsessed with that. I think we all are. But more than that, I'm trying to learn to throw the seed and not worry about where it lands or how it lands, rather throwing the seed, because that's what I can do. That's the thing that we can do. So many times in our jobs, we miscast what our role is. So I'll give you 2 examples. The job of the doctor is not to heal people, because you might have people that are not cooperative. They don't want to be healed. The job of the doctor is to create an environment that encourages healing. So the doctor gives some sound advice. If the patient doesn't take the advice and something happens to the patient, that's not on the doctor, because the doctor's role is to create the environment that encourages healthy living. The role of the teacher, that's the other career I'm going to highlight, is to create an environment that encourages learning. If you have 100 students, only 50 of them want to learn, then you say, well, 50 out of 100, that's like an F. No one wants that. So the job of the teacher is not to strangle all the students to make them learn. It's to create an environment that encourages them to learn. And if 20% of them want to learn, or 50% or 80%, it doesn't matter which percent want to learn, but just to throw the seed and create the environment. The purpose of the Divine Liturgy this morning was to open the doors and create an environment that encourages people to come and worship. So if one person comes, or 10 or 500, it doesn't matter, because the goal wasn't to fill the church, it was to open the doors and create the environment. That's the same thing I'm going for on Tuesday when we have liturgy for St. Luke. I don't think the church will be full as it is now on Tuesday morning, but the goal is to open the doors to allow people to come in and create an environment that encourages people to come and worship. And if one person comes, then that is success. So in our community, our goal is not necessarily to convert the world, but to create an environment that encourages people to come and learn about God and to commit their lives to Him. And we do this with these core values of love and worship, community, learning, and service. I encourage you in your life, whether it's in your family, in your job, on a sports team, wherever you are, fill in the blank to this statement. In what I'm doing, I'm trying to create an environment that encourages blank. An environment that encourages blank, because we can't demand things. We can only encourage things. So in a sports team, we encourage teamwork. We encourage good play, fair play, whatever it is. But I'm trying to create an environment that encourages blank. And once you create the environment, then like the sower, you take your foot off the gas and you say, I threw the seed, and that is what I can do. So we're having a festival in 3 weeks, and Mike's going to come up here in a minute and give us a few more instructions. But when we're having the festival, we want to encourage an environment. We want to create an environment that encourages people to come here and eat. So we have good food. We want to encourage them to learn a little bit about who we are. That's why we're going to have the doors of the church open. We want to create an environment that encourages them to laugh, because there's not enough laughter. We want people to come and have fellowship and food and get a taste of our faith. We want to create an environment that does that. And so I'm not going to obsess about how many people are going to come. We might have 200, we might have 2,000, we might have 20,000. But if we're opening the door and we're creating the environment that encourages those things, if one person comes and has a good experience of those things, then we are successful. Because the success of the festival cannot be on counting the numbers. It's on creating the environment. Because if you have a storm that weekend, the numbers will be low. If there's nothing to do that weekend, the numbers will be high. We can't control the numbers. We can control the environment that encourages people to come, and then when they enjoy that environment, they go and they bring others to that. In our Christian life, again, we accept the seed, we accept the seed for ourselves, we throw the seed to the others, and we let the Holy Spirit do the rest. I'm not worried about where the seed is going to land. I'm more concerned about throwing the seed, and I hope you will be as well. With that, I want to introduce Mike Zenik, who you all know, who is going to give us instructions today. He has a little blurb every week. He's going to introduce someone today also. We have 3 weeks left of the festival, and he's going to give important instructions for how we can be most successful in this endeavor.
Thank you, Father. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Well, as Father said, we have less than 3 weeks to the festival. We are making very nice progress, but there's still tons and tons of work to do. Those of you who have been through this before know that it is a sprint and a marathon at the same time. So we have to be well trained for this. I'm going to give a few points about the festival and some things that are coming up this week, some things that have happened, etc. But one thing I want to focus on at the beginning of this is, as everybody knows, we are donating 100% of our profits to charity this year. So that's an important milestone for our church, being the church of others, and throwing that seed that Father mentioned. We're giving to 3 charities this year. Love Inc., who we have given to in the past, and we're going to have a representative from Love Inc. here in a couple of weeks. We're also giving to Agape Charities in Naples. It is for Hurricane Ian relief, so it's going directly to that. And the third one is Life Path Hospice, a longtime partner of our church. We have donated funds. We have helped them out. They have come to our festival and helped us out. We have a very long and wonderful partnership with Life Path Hospice. So wanted to take a couple of minutes this morning to further introduce you to Life Path Hospice and some of the people on their team. So we have a representative here today, Liz Anderson, who's the Director of Philanthropy for the Life Path Hospice Charities. And she has a special guest. So I'm going to ask Liz if she wouldn't mind to come up and address you, and then she has some very special presentations for you as well.
Good morning. Thank you so much. What a wonderful sermon. And you all have helped Life Path Hospice through your gifts create an environment where we care and love for those at the end of life. Just to kind of give you a little bit of numbers this morning, the work that you have helped us do, we care for 1,200 patients every day in Hillsborough County. So that's 1 patient for every square mile of our community. And if you think about if you're driving to the grocery store or to work or to church, you've probably passed a patient for every mile that you've driven. And that's a big, heavy lift for our community, and we cannot do it without people like you. So thank you. Another startling statistic is 1 out of every 13 children before they reach the age of 18 will lose a loved one, a parent, or a sibling. And if you put that into numbers for our Hillsborough County community, that's 38,000 children. If you've ever been to Steinbrenner Field, that would fill up Steinbrenner Field 3 times. So if you see 12 kids in a little league or on a playground, 1 in 13, will lose a loved one by the time they turn 18, and usually a parent. So the gifts and the environment you're helping us create is helping us care for patients, families, and grieving hearts. Every year we care for over 200 patients who have no funding for hospice care, and that's a cost of $2 million. So your gifts help us provide charity care and free grief counseling for those who's lost someone they love. So I want the honor to introduce Jade Stafford to you. She's one of those 1 in 13 who lost a parent, and she's going to come and share her story with you. Is it okay if she stands here? She's got a notebook. Or maybe this will go that far. You want me to make it? Just hold it for me. Oh, good. Okay, perfect. That's perfect.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jade Stafford, and thank you for letting me share my story. I'm able to stand here today because my dad taught me to be brave. He gave me the confidence to take the road a little less traveled, so thanks. My parents were Helen and Wendell Stafford. They weren't well off in a traditional sense, but if love is wealth, they were rich. The story of who I am today starts with the act of love from my brother and me. We were adopted by the Staffords from the foster care system when we were both toddlers. Through their endless patience and love, we were able to thrive during childhood. Learned about determination and resilience. Little did we know we'd rely on those skills sooner than we'd imagine. My dad died suddenly when I was just 15 years old. His passing rocked our family to the core. My mother, she loved us enough for 2 parents, but my heart was broken, and I was lost without him. My grades dropped, and so did my spirit. Still reeling from his passing, tragedy struck again just 18 months later. My mom was diagnosed with glioblastoma. The cancer robbed her of a job that she loved and eventually the ability to take care of herself. While she was recovering from brain surgery to remove the tumor, our home was foreclosed on. It was the last tangible piece of the parents that we've had. My mom needed around-the-clock care and moved in with a family friend. Suddenly, my brother and I were alone. We surrendered our 2 beloved dogs, placed our belongings in storage, and couch surfed from friends' homes to home. We were homeless. When I wasn't in class, I worked a part-time job at Dairy Queen and visited my mom when I could. Homeless, broke, and without direction, I felt hopeless. And then to make matters worse, COVID hit. At 17 years old, as my mom did continue to decline, I knew we'd reach an important chapter in our story, and I had to face a choice. She could move into a nursing home and receive round-the-clock care, but we wouldn't be able to visit her. Or I could move in with her to a friend's house and become her full-time caretaker. It was an easy decision. I quit my job, and I said goodbye to the things that teens love to do, and I became her full-time caretaker. I learned to change her, to feed her, to bathe her. Every morning we awoke in the same room. After getting her comfortable, I would take high school classes online. Between studying and caregiving, all my days grew together. In time, I've forgotten how to rest. Mom's oncologist suggested we call Life Path Hospice, and when they showed up, they changed our lives. I met nurses, doctors, and healthcare aides and social workers who loved my mom as much as I did. They provided the extra care we needed to keep her at home and safe from COVID exposures in nursing homes. Our health aide, Tanja, was more than just a helping hand. She became like family. She never left before she made my mom smile with a joke or funny story, and she listened to me. With hospice helping, I was able to devote more energy into my education. My GPA climbed from a 1.5 to a 3.5, and I was placed on principal's honor roll. I found time to sleep in on Wednesdays and have daily coffee in the morning, and we watched The Price is Right. With hospice by her side, I was her daughter again, and I was young again. My mom died peacefully under the care of Life Path Hospice January 2021. In her bed at a friend's home, with Zion and I by her side, and we were the last faces she saw. One of her last wishes was her to have a cross for me to remember her by. And life past granted me that wish, and I'm wearing that cross today as a constant reminder of her faith, her love, and her hope. I wore that when I graduated from high school, and I'll be wearing it when I graduate from college. And all the things that she can't be here for, it'll be with me. She will be with me for every milestone in this life. Thanks to support of people like you, I could write a story, loving, painless, dignified end to my mom's story. And Life Path Hospice is providing me with free grief counseling, and it's that helping me heal through this heartbreaking chapter of my life. And as we know, grief is not a one-time event. This past spring, my one-year-old nephew's passed. It was actually the first day I started as a new team member of Life Path Hospice. Again, the staff treated me like family, allowing me to be flexible with my new job as I planned another funeral. I just celebrated 6 months working at Life Path Hospice while taking classes at HCC. I still have good days, and I still have bad days, and telling my story and remembering my parents usually makes a good day. So thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Mike, for inviting Liz, and Liz, thank you for bringing Jade here, and Jade, thank you for sharing your story. It's really important, actually, that this happened like this. I didn't know this was going to happen today. I knew we were going to have someone from hospice here, but I didn't have the details. 2 weeks ago, I gave a sermon, and I talked about church for us or church for other. And part of the thing, like, when we do the festival, everyone, let's be honest, like we love when we get the update, how much money did we bring in? And the thing is, like, what happens to that? If we cut a check, we're like, woohoo, we paid the light bill. That didn't really change anything, because we're all here. We pay the light bill. It doesn't change us. But putting a face to this, like, we don't see the faces. We've been writing checks to Life Path Hospice for like 18 years. Thank you. And we know the people that work there because they come and we see their faces. We know Liz and we know the ones that came before you. But this is the first time we see like one of the people that directly benefited from what we're doing. And so please know that this is making a difference for others. And that's what we're about, the other. God said 2 things, and they both pertain to other. He said, love the Lord your God, so that's not you. And love your neighbors yourself, that's not you. So the number one goal of the church is not for us. It's for the other. It's for him, and it's for her, and those that are like her. And there are many. This is one of many. And we're going to touch lives, whether it's for hospice, or for Love Inc., or for the people down south that lost everything. But thank you that we're starting to comprehend what we're doing here. It's for the other. So thank you for bringing the face of the other so we can see what she looks like and we can see what her story is. Because this is one, and there's probably thousands like you. And thank you, young lady, for your courage to come up here and to say that in front of a bunch of strangers, to talk to us about your most intimate things, because that's what we need to inspire us. They hear me all the time. But now somebody else comes, the other comes, and says it even better. So God bless you. Give me the names of your parents.
Helen and Wendell Stafford.
Helen and Wendell. All right.
Eleni and Wendell Stafford.
Eleni and Wendell. So please stand here so we can pray for them. We can pray for you. O God of spirits and of all flesh, you who trampled down death and vanquished the power of the devil and gave life to your world, the same, Lord, give rest to the souls of your servants Eleni and Wendell who have fallen asleep, as well as to all the people that fall asleep under the care of hospice. And we ask that you give them a place of rest and a place of light, a place of repose, and a place of refreshment where there is no pain, sorrow, and suffering. We pray, Lord, that you give strength to people like Jade who are missing her parents and those like her that have benefited from the work of hospice. And we pray that you give her good memories of her parents and continued inspiration to share their story as she has done so beautifully today. We're praying for Liz and all the people that work at hospice. We don't know the names and faces of the workers, the patients, or their families. Today we know 2 of them, and may we be so blessed to share our good fortune with them and to hear more of their stories in the years to come. We ask these things in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Please be seated. God bless you. Thank you for being here.
Well, it's hard to follow that. Amazing story, and I think, again, as Father said, we're seeing what the fruits of our labors in a few weeks are really going to do, how they're going to help people in our community. So thank you again to Liz and to Jade and everybody. They're going to be next door. They have a table set up with information. You can talk to Jade, you can talk to Liz, and there's other people with them today. So please stop by and say hi and grab some information. And then hopefully we'll be able to, we're going to have another speaker in a couple of weeks from Love Inc. as well. So that being said, let's give you some updates. Please sign up for the festival text group. It's in your bulletin today. It's also in the messenger. So if you see your bulletin, like Father said about the welcome ministry, there's also a text string you can be attached to get up-to-date information that I'll be sending out via the Remind app over the next couple of weeks. It's the best way to stay in touch. We'll continue to send emails through the constant contact, but if you want real-time updates, please sign up for that text string. Thank you to everybody who came to our meeting this past week. We actually had to add tables because there were so many people that showed up, which was amazing. Thank you for those that showed up and for all the progress that we're making, all the ideas that you had and commentary and updates. We appreciate that very much. Thank you also to everybody. I was going to say the ladies who came to bake, but there were some men here as well on Thursday and on Saturday. Thank you very much for the time. There were lots of people. I took a video. I sent it out to everybody that was on the Remind app. So those are the kinds of updates you're going to get if you sign up for the text. Also, cooking dates will be announced soon, hopefully in the next day or two. So you'll be able to see when we'll be making some other food in preparation for the festival. Thank you for everybody who signed up so far in the Sign Up Genius. I appreciate that very much. Whether you came to me after church on Sunday or you signed up yourself online, we still need lots of help. We're about 45% filled, so we still need lots of slots to be filled. Areas of need are parking, admissions, the kids area, the buffet line, and I also added some kitchen slots. So if you want to sign up to work in the kitchen during the festival, there are slots up there now to sign up for Friday and Saturday. That's, cooking, prepping, moving big pots and pans, washing the big pots and pans, basically keeping the things going and behind the scenes with all the food. If you showed up in the front of the church today, you realize that we have yard signs. So we thought we'd put a little display out there to kind of overwhelm you with yard signs. Hopefully that was accomplished. Please pick up your yard signs next door and take as many as you want. Put them up in your yard. If you have a business that's got some space out front, please take it to put up in there. If you think there's a place in your community that you can also put some yard signs, please grab some. We've got plenty, and if we need to order more, we can get them within 2 business days. So please grab a yard sign. We're going to have posters hopefully next week. We also, I'm not sure how this happened, but we can't find the OPA shirts from 3 years ago. We've asked everybody. If you have an idea of where they might be, let us know. But in the meantime, we're going to have to order all new shirts. We're going to order new shirts anyway because we always order, a cache of new shirts. So, but we're going to be placing that order, so we'll have those hopefully next Sunday, but possibly not for another 2 weeks. There are sponsorship opportunities. We're going to be sending out an email this week with sponsorship opportunities. If you have a business, you want to put an ad in the brochure. You want to put we're going to be doing our social media blitz starting this week too. So there are sponsorship opportunities to have your business or your name go out into the community through all our social media, which will be via Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're going to be doing all those mediums and also on our website. So if you'd like to sponsor, I've got information that I can tell you about later today. And I'll be sending out a sponsor ad sheet via email later this week. Again, please sign up to volunteer. If you have any questions, I'm going to be at a table passing out yard signs, signing up people on the iPads. I don't have any paper forms today, so if you want to sign up, come see me. We'll get you signed up on the iPad. And thank you again to Liz and Jade and her team for coming today. Please stop by and say hi to them. And with that, hope everybody has a great and wonderful week. Be looking out for emails and texts to update. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Good. Well, I hope that's getting everybody excited for what is to come. I hope everyone has a wonderful week. I'm going to be out of town the end of this week. Just be patient. I know when I leave, that doesn't stop everyone from emailing. It almost like invites you to do it. So just be patient. I will catch up with everything. And our young adults, again, I'm going to give Andidron and go in the Zaharias room, and I'll meet you right over there.